The government of Nigeria is set to spend about $7.2 billion to complete 2 approved deep seaport across the country. The projects are Ibom and Badagry Deep-Seaport projects. Recall that in December 2020, the Akwa Ibom state government said the federal government had approved $2.016 billion for the first phase of Ibom Deep-Seaport project, which was estimated to cost about $4.6 billion. The Federal Executive Council at the time approved the implementation of the first phase of the Ibom Deep-Seaport project on December 16, 2020, and it was noted that the port will address issues of unemployment in Akwa Ibom State and also enable the state to implement schemes for job creation and poverty alleviation. Upon completion of the project, it was expected to generate no fewer than 300,000 jobs in Akwa Ibom State. On the other hand, on March 1, 2022, the Lagos State government at the time announced that the Badagry Deep-Seaport project, estimated at $2.59 billion, expected to be one of the largest in Africa, would kick off in June of that same year. The announcement was made in Badagry during a stakeholders meeting on the Badagry Deep-Seaport and Free Trade Zone project. The plan to begin construction of the seaport, which will be hosted by 12 communities in Badagry, came after 10 years of conceiving the idea in 2012. And according to the government of Lagos State, Badagry Deep-Seaport project is not just one project but a multi-level opportunity for progress for all the people of the state, given the volume of trade and quantum of investment opportunities that will spring up in the area when the project commences and when it is completed and operational. Very importantly, employment and capacity building for the teeming youth and women in the affected communities will be prioritized when fully operational. It will not only boost the fortunes of the people of Badagry but also transform the entire economy of Lagos State and that of the entire West African sub-region. Meanwhile, stakeholders have said that the broader implication of those unfinished projects are substantial, expressing frustration over the lack of progress. However, other stakeholders feel that the country needed a few deep seaport and the use of feeder vessels to other ports. How much import and export are we planning for? We need to rethink so that we don't have redundant ports like Sapele, Koko, and Calabar. According to some stakeholders, if the country can establish integrated evacuation logistics, rails, roads, and barges, and provide constant security, we need to get a transport policy in place and a short, medium, and long-term strategies. Stakeholders also see that the project will create jobs for about 250,000 Nigerians and attract more foreign direct investment. More importantly, it will decongest the Apapa port, which access roads are hampering their huge contributions to the economy. But there are more problems. Before now, the Badagry highway was not only an eyesore but also a clog in the wheel of progress. For years, the government had neglected the once busy expressway known mainly for its trans-regional role in West Africa, and even when its contract was awarded, the construction has been slow over time. The project cost as contained and approved in Council based on the final business case as approved by the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission in line with the law stood at $2.59 billion. It has to be developed in 4 phases with milestones and a concessional period of 45 years. This is to further the government's goal of making Nigeria the maritime hub of West Africa and Central African sub-region. This project, it may interest you to know, will also generate a total revenue of about $53.6 billion over the concession period. It will create about 250,000 jobs and also attract foreign direct investment to the country and help in improving Nigeria's economy in general and the well-being of Nigerians. According to its promoters, the port is aimed to be Africa's biggest deep sea port. The state government, it was gathered, has plans to construct the deep sea port on a piece of land measuring over 1,000 hectares in Badagry. The port is expected to create thousands of jobs opportunities for the citizens and has positioned the country to be the first country in Africa to host the largest cargo container port. The Badagry Port and Free Trade Zone is a new deep sea facility in Nigeria expected to be the largest deep sea port in Africa. It will include a container terminal, oil and gas services, and a liquid bulk terminal with cargo and ro-ro facilities. Following APM Terminal's appointment, work on this project has involved the development of the port layout and master plan as well as the procurement and supervision of onshore and offshore soil investigations, hydrographic survey, and met ocean studies. The promoters also say that the state-of-the-art Badagry Port and Free Trade Zone will support strong, sustainable growth, and it will provide the deepest waters in West Africa, allowing larger vessels to visit West Africa. This will also allow Nigeria's port system to remain competitive in the global market. According to the government, the Badagry Deep-Seaport represents a multi-level potential for growth for the people. And if fully operational, it will improve the lives of not only the Badagry people but also the state and West African sub-region. On the development of the Ibom Deep-Seaport, there are renewed hopes towards the actualization of the Ibom Deep-Seaport project, as the Ibom government has repositioned the technical committee in charge of its implementation by providing it with a befitting office accommodation. Accordingly, the government has conducted members of the technical committee on the implementation of the Ibom Deep-Seaport round and new office accommodation assigned to them on the 3rd floor of Dakara Towers, the state-owned 21-story smart building in Udo Udoma Banking Layout, Uyo. The government noted that the move to allocate the new office space to the committee was necessitated by the need to avail them with requisite and befitting office space to aid the realization of the Ibom Deep-Seaport project. Recently, steps have been taken by the state government, including the award of the contract for the construction of 13.6 kilometers Orukim Uyenge Universal Energy Road to the Ibom Deep-Seaport site. The allocation of the new befitting accommodation, amongst others, were genuine effort for the seaport project to be back on track. The Ibom Deep-Seaport is designed for very large vessels that can load over 13,000 containers in one voyage. It will be a transshipment port, as smaller vessels will distribute cargo from mega vessels to seaports, river port closer to the consignees within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. The Ibom Deep-Seaport is a federal government project driven by the Nigerian Port Authority and the Federal Ministry of Transport, Akwa Ibom State. The construction of the Ibom Deep-Seaport was slated to begin in 2019 and scheduled for completion in 2021. However, the state government failed to start the project after the Federal Executive Council granted approval for the construction in 2018. When completed and commissioned, the seaport will have a container terminal which will have the capacity to accommodate up to 13 new Panamax-class container vessels and 2 large feeder vessels. Also, handling capacity is expected to grow from 1.2 million 20-foot equivalent units to 4 million TEUs in 2040. Phase 1 of the Ibom Deep-Seaport project will involve development over approximately 505 hectares of land, which also includes dugout basins, while new 20 kilometers long and 450 meters wide channel approach will be built to allow two-way traffic for vessels. It was gathered that having invested so much in the Ibom Deep-Seaport project, the Akwa Ibom State government decided to seek ways that would ensure the Ibom Deep-Seaport project is optimally beneficial to Akwa Ibom people when it is finally established. The Greenfield project, which is expected to become the eastern gateway of Nigeria, will serve as a transshipment port for the West African region and handle containers, break bulk, dry bulk, and liquid cargo. Following the approval of the seaport by the Federal Executive Council, it was noted that the building of the port will be constructed on a public-private partnership model. The first phase of the port construction will cost about $2.016 billion, of which the private sector will take 60% and the public sector 40%, noting that the state government was projecting over 3,000 to 5,000 companies to provide services and customers at the port. The development of the port will provide about 300,000 jobs when the first phase of the port development is completed. The impact of the port will be felt not only at its location but the entire state and beyond. Guys, do well to drop your honest comment. Tell us what you think about these two projects. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Thank you.